the Never Seen It podcast, the only podcast called Never Seen It that's worth listening to. And tonight with us, as always, he's back, ladies and gentlemen. He's back, Arnie, the one-man party, aka Arnold Callego. He's here with us tonight, having some ceviche in his Ninja Turtle bowl, which is the best way to have. I don't even like ceviche, but if it was served to me in a Ninja Turtle bowl, I would go for it. We have Mr. Daily Dares, aka Filipino Grigio, aka Alex Callego, the brothers Callego. Mr. Donnie Appleseed, aka Donnie Guzman, the cousins Callego. And joining us again, our good friend, Mr. Milkman America, aka Chris, is back on the show. And then there's me, Boots Too Big, aka Adrian De La Torre. And tonight, we're discussing the 2025 vampire horror film, a soon-to-be classic, Sinners.
You keep dancing with the devil. One day he's gonna follow you home.
Directed by Ryan Coogler. Trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers Smoke and Stack, which is the coolest name I've seen in a movie in a long time, return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. And this movie, of course, stars Mr. Michael B. Jordan, who is oozing with charm in this and everything he's in. We've discussed Chronicle on this show. I said it then and I'll say it again. The guy just oozes charm. Haley Steinfeld. Miles Catton, I don't even know how to say that. I apologize. Jack O'Connell and lots of other. Delroy Lindo. We'll have to talk about him because he's great and everything I see him in anyway. So, yeah, that's Sinners. Ryan Coogler obviously directed this. It was written by Ryan Coogler as well, who's directed Creed. He's directed Fruitvale Station, of course, the Black Panther movies, the first Black Panther and Wakanda Forever, which I really liked. I think a lot of people did as well. But yeah, that's the movie. Obviously a newer film that none of us had seen before. I did do a little quickie review on it, which we'll have to repost when this episode comes out. But yeah, guys, let's start with Chris. Sinners. Initial thoughts. What do we feel? How do we feel about this movie?
Top notch. It doesn't get more top notch than this. I mean, as far as a AAA movie goes, this was delivered on every single A, like across the board.
What did you think, though? I'm curious because there was this hyped up a lot, still being hyped up. Did your perception change at all after having seen like did it live up to the hype? You think?
I really don't like to hype movies up more than they already are, but I would hype it even more on top of the hype that already exists. It is a phenomenal movie, and that has a lot of depth, so it doesn't even matter if you watch it once, 5 times, 300 times, because you turn into a vampire and this is your new life now.
Yeah.
It is phenomenal and is a must-watch.
The cinematography is chef's kiss,
Yes.
It's such a beautifully shot movie. I think they shot it on IMAX. I'll have to look into that. But I believe they shot it on IMAX.
They shot it in 2 different cameras.
2 different cameras.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's the only movie that's done that so far that I know of.
First movie to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
How can you tell?
Yeah. You don't notice on some of the parts where the frame it goes in and goes out.
Oh yeah.
When you're watching it. Yeah.
But yeah, this movie's done great. I mean, it's the way it's been received. A lot of people have it in their top movies of 2025. Chris, I'll go to you again really quick. What kind of awards do you foresee this movie winning next year?
I could see it winning 10 plus awards. Everything from music to set design to, I mean, Michael B. Jordan deserves 2 just for playing 2 parts to that degree. The directing was phenomenal. I don't know what it's gonna lose, honestly.
Well, the reason I ask is because horror seems to be disrespected at the Oscars. I feel like they never really win Oscars.
A pure horror, yes.
Right.
I would argue that this horror is almost a back seat to like the overarching plot and story of the movie, which I think it serves it as being such a well-rounded movie. It's not, I mean, you go 45 minutes to an hour in before you even recognize that it is a horror movie.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only ask also because there was a year the year that Us came out. I don't know if you guys ever saw Us. It was a Jordan Peele movie. It's a good movie. You know, it's got its flaws, but it was a fun ride. The year that movie came out, completely snubbed by the Oscars, but they had an opening music number where they had dancers come out dressed like some of the people in Us, and I'm like, how you gonna like have dancers dressed like characters in the movie, but you're not even nominating the movie at all? I just thought that was, ironic.
Those award shows are always like such hit and miss. Sometimes it's like right on the money, and you're like agree with majority of the awards, and like you said, like you see these movies get snubbed, and you're like, for what reason, dude? Like who's actually voting on these?
No one under the age of 30 remembers the upset in 1998 when Shakespeare in Love won over Saving Private Ryan, a movie that I love.
Oh yeah,
because it stars Tom Hanks, who I also love, and I respect. I don't care what anybody says, but yeah. Anyway, that's a running joke. Donnie, I'm curious. Initial thoughts about Sinners. How did this live up to the hype? All that good stuff.
So I actually saw the movie. So the movie came out in April earlier this year. Justin and I attended a screening before it came out back in February. So we went into the screening not even knowing what the movie was. Like not at all. Like we didn't even know the title. We just went in there blindly, and it ended up being Sinners. And I was blown away. Like I thought it was amazing. And so when I saw all the hype come out about it afterwards, I expected that after I had seen it.
I always love that when you go into a movie blind and it turns out to be a really good movie. That's what I was with Begonia. You go in, you don't know much about. With Begonia, I didn't know the plot at all. I didn't even watch the trailer. And I was like, wow, that turned out to be great. So that's always the best.
Yeah.
But Arnold, I think I'll go to you next. I think you only watched it recently, correct? What were your initial thoughts?
Last night. Just watched it last night.
Fresh off the presses. Nice.
Yeah. No, I thought it was really good. I thought that I knew that it was classified as like a horror. I didn't know it was like with vampires, but it kind of made me think of Overlord, just because like Overlord, it feels like a war movie. It feels like something else, and then like half an hour, 40 minutes, 45 minutes later, then whatever the monster or the vampires is finally you finally get a glimpse of it, and then it's introduced, and I thought it was another one of those, I don't know what you call it, but like, yeah, kind of a little bit of a turn later.
Did you ever watch True Blood? Did you ever watch that show?
No, but I got a lot of stuff at Comic-Con for it, which I flipped on eBay.
I was just wondering if you'd seen it and if you thought of any comparisons to, because that was a vampire show as well. But
I know there's a big following because the stuff, I'll get that stuff for free. And then that's the stuff that I would put up for auction, start at 1 cent, 99 cents. And then it's a great way to see the market for that.
How many plantation nickels do you think you can sell some of that merch for?
Oh man, yeah, you got me there. Well, that'll be a great test.
Autumn Durald Arcapon, I hope I'm saying her name right, became the first woman to shoot a feature on a large format IMAX film while doing Sinners. The production used IMAX and Ultra Panavision / 65mm formats to amplify the film's epic Delta landscapes and intimate church / juke joint scenes. That I didn't know it was 65mm as well. They weren't messing around. They're like, we got to go big or go home, baby.
Well, I like how he used that to like transition or like prepare you for something that's coming up, right? It didn't just do it. Yeah, willy nilly. Like it was like planned. Yeah, it's really good.
I just gotta say, like Donnie, like you bringing that up initially, talking about like the different sizes, like it's something so small. Like if you're not like looking for it, you might not even notice like that it's happening. But for them to shoot on the widest available lens for a movie like this, and then the largest image sensor, so like taking up the full screen, is like it's really impressive that they were able to do that, because that's both that's film, that's not even digital. So
yeah, guys like Coogler and like Tarantino, man, they are film nerds, like the film format,
top notch.
Yeah, I think it was Hateful Eight, they got the same lenses they filmed. What was it? Lawrence of Arabia on or something. It was like these old vintage lenses, and I think they also shot that on IMAX as well. But that took place mostly in a cabin, so I thought that was interesting. This movie has like so many different, more locations anyway than that. But you really feel the epicness with those vintage formats. Alex, I'll go to you next. What did you think about Sinners? What was your perception of it actually beforehand? Did you go in kind of blind, or how was that?
I kind of went in somewhat blind. I mean that what is somewhat blind? That's kind of a dumb term. But I knew that it was like a vampire movie. I knew that that was about it, pretty much. I knew it was a vampire movie. I had a feeling that they would, it was going to show up like at the farm. As I was watching it, I felt like a total, like, you knew what was going to go down. You knew what was going to go down. I don't think it was predictable in a way that was bad. Like, again, like in Weapons, there was like for me personally, it was like a level of predictability that didn't ruin the film. You still like hung in there to see what was going to go on, and I really enjoyed this film. It was really, really good. It lived up to the hype, like we all agree upon. For me, my favorite parts were like a lot of the music scenes, especially like how they for Sam, they kind of showed how he was like he was special. I loved how they made him like this sort of like conduit for like artists past, present, and future. How
I love that.
they were able to bring that was really cool. I thought that was like a cool way of doing it. I also felt like this movie was an allegory for we call it how they saw how they felt like blues was, they were trying to make it seen as like devil music, but in the end blues was like actually kind of saved a lot of it passed on stories of like the slaves, and reminded everybody of where they came from, who they are, and what they feel they're meant to be here on earth as, they're powerful people, that they were meant to be more than what was put on them as slaves.
Also, go ahead.
I wanted to mention, I thought a really cool cameo was Saul Williams. I don't know if any of you I know Donald is familiar with Saul Williams.
Yeah. That's like the only thing I wish there was more of in the film. More Saul Williams.
What does he play?
He's the preacher.
The father, the preacher.
Oh.
He's like a spoken word artist, rapper. Like he's like a kind of a legend in the underground like slam poetry scene.
Okay.
You've probably seen them in the movie Slam a long time ago. You remember that movie?
Yeah.
Oh, why does that ring a bell? I don't think
He's the guy who does the spoken word piece in the very beginning of that movie.
That's cool.
We should watch that.
2 epic openings for movies, man.
Yeah.
Jumping off the whole Sammy thing, such an incredible like story arc. I mean, to a degree, if you take out the vampire portion of this movie, right? I think there's a story there that stands on its own 2 legs. Like it's the whole. If you want to like boil it down, it's about Sammy being a sinner, right? As far as like his dad not approving, his preacher dad not approving of the music that he plays. The blues, and this kind of like push-pull struggle of what his heart wants and what he's being told to do, like live this like priest holy like life. And you have all these different influences, right? You have Smoke and Snack, coolest names to have ever come out of a movie, so awesome. But all these different aspects of who Sammy comes in contact with. You see the struggle of like him trying to cut out his own path, and I think the vampire stuff is really cool. Do not get me wrong, but like the music, the aspect of this movie, the duality of this whole movie, was like
Yeah.
kind of like on Sammy's back.
I agree with what you're saying. I think, funny enough, this movie could have worked without vampires in a way. Like, they could have written it where it was like a period drama where the racists come out of the woodwork literally and try to destroy their newfound establishment or whatever. But the vampire stuff adds a certain panache to it. Is that the right word? Panache.
It breaks the glass ceiling. It goes,
Yeah.
"You could make this phenomenal."
So yeah, it's like 2 movies in one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
they
did
did-
you guys think about the vampire guy? He was such a scary villain, especially in that scene where Haley Stanfield goes out there to talk to them, and then she walks away, and then you see him just fucking jump up and cut to the next scene. I'm like, wow, yeah, that was a move. Well, what did you guys think about him, Arnold? You like good bad guys. I feel like you're like the good bad guy of this show. What was your thoughts on the main bad guy of this movie?
So, yeah, when he first came to that, like knocking on the Ku Klux Klan's house, and then like he was running from, I thought legit that he was running from somebody who was like hurting him or something, because he was like, man, why is he all burnt up?
Yeah,
And then them engines were looking for him, which I wish I'm just thinking about it now. Would have been cool if they talked about that a little bit more, or if they, incorporated them a little bit more, because like
The
they
Indians.
seem to know, what it was, or who they were. The vampire dude was running from him. Well, I guess because it was daytime.
yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it now.
Oh, that's right. It was like
Yeah.
when the sun was coming up or coming down. I
Did
can't
you
remember.
did you guys notice when he came to that house in that scene that he dropped the Irish accent?
Yeah,
Oh no,
Right?
actually.
Oh,
yeah.
Because the whole movie he has the Irish accent except for that
He is
part.
Irish, yeah.
Yeah, but the reason he did that is because back in the day, Irish were considered like they were like aliens, like immigrants as well, basically.
Yeah, second-class citizens.
Second assistant, yeah.
I'm glad you bring that up because
Really?
that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. Because Ryan Coogler said in an interview that he wanted the vampire to come from a time that pre-existed, like these racial times in the South, so that they would be extremely odd. And the Irish, under British rule, experienced suppression of their language. So not just here in the United States, but back in the UK, of their language, their culture, their religion, their dance, music, and all that stuff. So I think that it's a nod to his heritage and how he's also comes from a suppressed peoples.
that's interesting. It
think
gives me
yeah.
more. I didn't know that, and couldn't help but think about the Celtics and how I don't like them as a Laker fan.
Oh wait, isn't it
And,
Celtics? Is it supposed to be
Celtics.
Celtics or is it Celtics?
I
okay.
don't know.
Oh, okay.
Celtics.
I asked because I didn't know this until very recently, but the Irish have their own native tongue, which is Celtic. I didn't know that until like embarrassingly very recently. The Celtic language,
It's weird. Well, because I would take Celtic salt, but when referring to basketball, Celtics
yeah.
or
Because you're a Lakers guy, right, Arnold?
yeah. I don't buy any more. I know this Ninja Turtles bowl is green, but I don't get any other. I don't buy anything green. If I have a choice for something green, I won't do it. I won't.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm that much against them.
He won't watch The Luck of the Irish, the Disney original movie, out of spite.
Well, so
Arnold, please tell me
knowing
you've seen Rudy. You've seen Rudy, I hope.
Yeah.
it's a good movie.
Oh, but that's
That is a
Notre
good
Dame, though, right?
It is Notre Dame, but
Yeah.
aren't they the fighting Irish? Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not the Celtics.
They're not
Boston
the Celtics.
Ah.
Yeah, you're right.
It's the rivalry with the Lakers. So yeah.
Oh,
Okay, so knowing,
is that like the Dodgers versus the who are the New York
Yankees.
Mets.
Yankees?
The
This is how
Yankees.
little I know about sports. But you're saying the Celtics and the Lakers are like that, right?
Yeah.
Rivalries.
The rivals.
Rivals.
Yeah.
What's the football version of that? Now that we're talking about it, let's just get it out of the way.
Probably
Would it be
not the
the-
Chiefs.
The
Gosh. I don't know.
Because you're a resident sports guy, so do you watch football?
I
don't know if
do,
I've
yeah. I mean,
ever asked
the
you.
past decade, it was like the Patriots versus the whole league. But now, as of late, it's probably the the Chiefs just because of their dominance.
How much is
Those
that?
damn
How much of
Chiefs.
that is like a true beef, and how much of that is just like marketing to like
Hating to hate. I think it's
Hating to
fun to hate a team in sports. That's what makes it so fun to cheer for.
Oh, I see. Yeah. As a
of them
non-sports
go
guy,
crazy, though.
I'm curious about these things. This is why I talk about movies because I'm out of my depth when it comes to sports.
All right.
No, but that's good though, Arnold. Yeah, it's interesting to learn this stuff, and I learned a lot just from watching this, just after the fact from watching of this movie. But Healing Laughter Power says the prayer. Oh, he says that he's the most silly vampire ever. Then he says the prayer and how the lead vampire was damning it as how it was the words of his oppressor. Oh, okay. Was that part of his? I don't remember what scene that was. What he's referring
Was
to
that
there.
when they were in the water and he was talking about how Christianity wiped his family's out?
Which is
I think so.
which is true,
That sounds-
right?
Yeah.
Historically, they were colonized. I thought that was a crazy part where they're doing the Our Father. Was it the Our Father or one of the prayers? And then he joins in and he continues the
Yeah.
prayer with him, right? with
that
Preacher
was
Boy.
crazy.
That was a crazy
Yeah.
part, like in the
Chills.
water.
I was like, oh man.
And then he's basically like baptizing him,
Yeah.
like dunking
Yeah.
him in the water. But I think it's like I don't know if they meant this, but maybe it's like him trying to like connect back to his roots because like if you look at that historically, they were forced into Christianity. It wasn't something that they wanted to do, right? When they were
Right.
colonized.
And that's such a running theme throughout
Mhm.
pretty much the entire planet.
The entire movie, yeah. Yeah.
The Christian colonization of so many nations throughout the world, throughout history, the Irish as well, and then but there was like the opposite in Spain, right? Because the Moors ruled Spain for hundreds of years, and the Catholics were like, no, get out, and then the Inquisition and all that. But we don't have to talk about all that. That's all interesting though. It all kind of goes back to that, is what I'm getting at. So Sammy is an interesting character, and even more so, I think, because the actor Miles, I don't know how to say his last name, Catan. This is his first movie role, which
So
is
good.
amazing. Yeah.
Wait, who
Like,
is that? Which
That's
character is that?
Sammy, the
The
character of
preacher.
Sammy. This is his
Oh,
first movie.
yeah. You know, he had to learn to play those instruments, or that instrument, the guitar. And same thing with what's his name?
Delroy.
The guy who plays. Yeah, he learned to play the piano. Yeah, that's crazy.
Piano and harmonica. Yeah.
And harmonica. Yeah, that's crazy.
And you know who else knows how to play harmonica? Healing Laughter Power, who's with us tonight in the chat.
Ooh.
So yeah, Healing Laughter
Way.
Power. I remember a time or two when he played the harmonica, and I think he may still play the harmonica. I don't know if he's listening now, but let us know, Healing Laughter Power, if you're still playing playing a little ditty.
Send
on
us
that.
some clips.
Make a secondary jingle for the show,
Yeah. Or an
Oh,
outro.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
or for commercial.
Yeah.
Our snack breaks, we'll be able to have a little jazz. Snazzy snacks.
Yeah, so there's a lot of good stuff in this movie. Here's the thing I wanted to say and ask you guys what you thought about this, because to me, the movie feels a little top heavy. I feel like it doesn't really get going until, I want to say 30, 40 minutes in. There's a lot of setup in this movie. Did you guys notice that at all? Like, how was the pacing for you? I guess is what I'm getting at. Like, did the pacing feel good for you guys, or did you guys kind of pick up on the fact that there was just a lot of setup in the beginning? And what did you guys think about that? Alex, I'll start with you.
It did. It felt a little bit top heavy, but I feel like it was necessary. You're going into this with like no knowledge of any of the characters whatsoever. Yeah, in a sense, you have to, and if you don't do that, when you go into the rest of the film, it's like the characters aren't gonna earn what happens, the rest of the film. It's just kind of like you go into it. If you didn't set up like the death of the baby, or like you obviously know that somebody had passed, like with I don't know the difference between Smoke and Stack, who was with who, but one of them was with that one voodoo lady, and she they obviously had something going. And there was something that was meaningful at her house that was kind of buried or in front of the house. And so you had to have that. And like, if you didn't have that, at the ending wouldn't be feel earned. You know, her death wouldn't feel like it. It wouldn't have meaning. You know, and you have to have meaning in those sorts of things.
Yeah. The stakes, the wooden stakes.
And this movie borrowed a lot of the familiar vampire tropes, and it's why I brought up what was that show? I can't even think of it right now. God damn it.
True Blood.
True Blood, thank you.
Bloods.
Arnold always good with the assist. Thank you, Arnold. I brought up True Blood because in that show as well, vampires aren't allowed to enter your home or your wherever you are without permission. They did that in this movie.
I didn't know. I kind of picked up on that. Like, why don't they just go inside? But I guess
that's what I was
you have to be
thinking.
invited.
What did you guys think about? I watched it. It's been a few weeks now since I watched it. What was the thing that got them in there? Because they weren't invited in there. They didn't force their way in there. What was the thing?
Because
that
the
caused
lady
it all?
welcomed
They were
them in.
invited.
Yeah,
They were the Asian lady.
At one part, yeah.
Yeah.
at the end.
The Asian lady. She was like,
Yeah.
she was like,
She
She's all,
kept
come
telling
on
me
in.
with, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on in.
But-
And then they're like, I'm coming.
Wasn't Haley Steinfeld a bit of a Trojan horse? Because she gets bit first and then she goes in, right? And then she turns in the room with one of the brothers when they're trying to help out.
Jack.
Yeah, and so she's in there. Does she get killed? I can't remember what happens to her. What's her fate in this movie? Haley Steinfeld.
no, remember she doesn't die at the end.
She doesn't die.
She
Okay.
doesn't- yeah,
Oh, yeah.
she doesn't die.
She's
Okay.
You saw
her and
in the bar?
Her and Stack are.
Yeah, her and Stack are coming back. Remember in the bar?
yeah,
Very
at the very ending at the bar.
Did you guys see that scene?
Did you
It was
see the
after
post? Did you
credit
see the
scene?
post credit scene?
There's
Yeah.
no, I don't know. It was post-credit scene.
Man.
Man, you guys missed
Yeah,
out.
it's post-credit scene.
Contextualize
It's like the
everything
big
for me.
payoff.
Alex, let
Oh,
him
yeah.
know. Alex,
Yeah.
let
I
him
did
I
know.
did
see
not
that.
know there was what's in the post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, how did it go?
Tell us.
So at the end, you know, they're going through the post credit scene, and then you see Sammy in the future, and he's like playing it with a band. It's like in the '90s, like it was 1994. And then
I heard
he
something
shows
about
up.
that.
He shows up. He's like playing guitar, and at the very end, he's sitting at the bar, Sammy having a drink, and you see Stack or Smoke walk in with Haley's character, and they're still alive. And he goes, he talks about how the one thing he promised not to do was to kill Sammy because he felt like he had something important, you know. He wanted
Okay.
he wanted him to live out his a full life. So, like, yeah, that's
Is
what.
she
so that's
still a
what happened.
vampire though? In that?
Yeah.
In the end?
Yeah, they both are.
Okay.
They both are.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stack.
And
Stack and,
what was actually kind of cool about that scene though was how, you know, Sammy asks him, he's like, is there anything that, like, I can't remember the question, but he says like something how was it all worth it? He's like, you know, or something like along those lines, and he says like, you know, there was that moment before we turned when everybody was happy, everybody got what they wanted. And they were all before all the vampires had like started coming down on them, and they were just having fun in that juke joint. And like to them, to like Stack and Haley's character, that was like the most beautiful thing, you know, moment for all of them. And it was kind of cool, and almost sets up like a possible like sequels, you know, in the future. So
Yeah.
I
Or
need
He
to
said it
go
was like
back and watch it just for that.
He said it was
So
like
that
the
scene-
best day of their life. The best day of their lives.
Yeah, it said they felt free,
Yeah.
best day of their life. That scene,
ahead,
Preacher Boy
Donnie.
was played by Buddy Guy. Do you guys know who that is? The guitarist.
Don't.
sounds familiar.
So yeah, he's
No.
big in
Oh
the
yeah,
blues.
yeah. He's
Yeah. That's Buddy Guy. So he
Yeah.
plays a preacher boy. So I thought that was a cool choice to for Ryan Coogler to put him in the movie and play him as like the older version. So but yeah, he's super influential.
I
They had
like
so
how
many
he
good
was
nods.
all saying like what do you call it? I liked your older stuff as opposed to the electric guitar stuff.
Oh, yeah,
acknowledging that he's been Stack was had been following his career.
his whole career.
Which is kinda cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I think he
we're
mentioned
kinda
that he
going
has
back
all
to
his
that
music.
now. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
isn't that why records or vinyl is still a thing, right? Because people are like, it's a
I
cooler
still buy it.
format than
Yeah.
than digital, than
Yeah.
MP3s, and
It
you actually
sounds
own
different.
physical media. It sounds
Yeah.
yeah, it's a warmer tone from what I've heard.
Do I see some vinyl behind you, Donald?
Yeah, I have vinyl behind me right now. Yeah, this all the stuff.
Uh,
Here. I have more too, but this is just some of it that I have out. My newer stuff when
Yeah,
I went to actually when I went to LA with Alex, I bought quite a bit.
Nice.
Had it shipped over to me.
yeah, people love physical media. That's making a big comeback. Maybe someday we'll release this show on CD or something. I don't know.
VHS.
Yeah, VHS version of the Never Seen It podcast before podcasts even existed.
no, or next year at Comic-Con, we're gonna be with those guys who are trying to sell their CDs. We'll be selling our DVDs of it.
Long jackets.
It's not like those guys on the boardwalk in Venice City. They try to sell you their rep mixtape,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I
got
Wu-Tang
Venmo.
started like
I got
that.
Cash App.
Wu-Tang started like that.
did they really?
Oh, the other clan.
Yeah.
When they were talking about the clan is no longer here in the movie, I was thinking like, the only clan I know of is Wu-Tang Clan. That's the only one that matters.
Or like
It's,
they even
like,
say it in
do you-
the movie For Us By Us.
Yeah,
Fubu?
you referenced Fubu.
Yeah, Fubu.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that was,
Dude,
that
so
was
do you
slick.
guys
I
see
that.
like? I caught that too. Do you guys see like the vampires as like being bad? Because I feel like they were just trying to like build their community, right? Again, going back to that whole Irish thing. Like,
I mean,
I
in
don't
a
know,
practical way, they are the bad guy. Thematically,
yeah,
debatable, right? Because,
Yeah,
like you're saying,
but-
like,
yeah.
of the oppression and stuff of the Irish peoples.
yeah,
The way I see it, like it was just another becoming a vampire was just another form of slavery. You know, they talked about how it's freeing and you'll never die and all that sort of thing.
yeah.
However, you don't get to because you don't die, you don't get to pass on and to see your loved ones, people who are waiting for you on the other side. You know, like what happened with Stack or with Smoke. And he was, you know, once he died after killing all those Klansmen, and he himself getting killed, he passes on and he's able to see his love and his child. And had he become a vampire, he would have died, but he would have never passed over into
We never passed.
and see his loved one. And then, you know, at the same time, it's like, you know, so it's just like everybody's like in that sense is searching for freedom and
That's a good point.
and
Yeah.
equality. But like, you know, like the whole lie that he was trying to the leader of those vampires was like trying to perpetuate was, oh, you're free, we're all equal, this is we're everything's fair. But like at the same time, and it's this hive mind, right? They know what everybody's thinking. So how is that free when you're thinking the same thing? Everybody's thinking the same way. Everybody's thinking the same thing, doing the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
HLP says vampires are a pyramid scheme. Exactly.
The OG MLM.
The OG. Yeah. Speaking of like the slavery thing, I and going back to what you mentioned earlier, it being heavy in the beginning, I thought like you could really tell that they did a lot of research like historically and making sure that they was like accurately depicted and everything. Like even when they were talking about like the plantation and when they bought the property and they were talking about how everybody lived in the top of the sawmill, like that's real. It's like they used to like let plantation workers basically live there, and then they would rent out like equipment and stuff for them to work, but they wouldn't make enough money, and so they would also supplement them by giving him those coins, the one that they used in the bar, right? But the coins are not really worth anything unless you're using it at your own plantation store. And so it's like it's a way to still keep them chained up, and even though they're not slaves or they were freed, they were still like tied to it. They couldn't really leave because they weren't making enough money to go anywhere. So it's very interesting, like all the history that he
crazy.
He injects into it in the very beginning. I mean, even where like the Chinese family, like why, like how they're there, and that's also historically correct, right? And the way he filmed it, I was watching a YouTube video about it, and I didn't catch this, but they had two stores, like one on the poor side where the blacks were, and then a nicer one on the white side, and it was just across the street from each other. And you could see when she crosses the street, like all the chaos breaks out. That's when the guy gets shot on the black side. So I didn't catch this when I was watching it, but I was watching a YouTube video that was talking about it. So I thought it was really cool how they took time and invested the time to do all the research and make sure it was all correct.
And
That
and
just
to
said
that
one
point,
thing to me, which is segregation is stupid. Like really, like you look back on it now, and you're like, obviously it's bad for just morally bad, but it's practically stupid too. A white water fountain and a black water fountain. Where do Latinos and Asians drink? I'm serious. Like in the South back then, if you were Latino or Asian, which water fountain did you use? I don't even know. You know what I mean? I think I know which one I would use. Obviously, but in general, like which one? It's just dumb, But
I'd
I'm
use the
glad you
hose
bring
water
up
regardless.
yeah, I'm glad you bring up the Chinese immigrants because the Chinese immigrants famously helped build the railroads in this country, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know that gets talked about enough, but yeah, like we have such a pretty robust rail system in the United States, and who helped build that, right? So I thought it was great that he included the Chinese shop owners in that part of the movie. But yeah, what is it? Healing Power says. Oh, sorry, I misread the wrong thing. He did say that he does still use the harmonica. So every now and then you'll have to send us a mixtape for that Healing Power, but only when we're at Venice Beach, of course. Yeah. Hey Arnold, we're past the 30-minute mark, and I feel like we missed out on a certain. No, I'm just kidding.
There's too much stuff. My
That's
setup
all good.
now. I might knock over the screen
Yeah.
and everything.
No, yeah, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. But wait a minute, there is another connection here, Arnold, because what are not in this movie, but in general, what are vampires weak to? What is their weakness? What is a vampire's weakness? What can you use to keep them away?
A little bit of garlic. A little bit of garlic. Silver. Yeah,
Silver. Garlic.
Yeah.
A stake through the heart. Or is that werewolves? Is werewolves a stake through the heart? Or what's werewolves' weakness? I always forget.
No, I think that's vampires. I think that's vampires.
Oh, it's vampire.
Silver.
Okay.
Silver as well, I thought.
Silver.
Silver bullet.
Yeah, silver.
Silver
Like,
bullet.
if you think of
for,
Underworld with
werewolves.
Silver Bullet, remember? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Hey, dude.
Doorways.
had a good
Doorways
time.
keep vampires away. Doorways into houses.
Yeah. Doorways. I didn't
There's
know that.
there's
that
also
whole
that
True Blood thing.
What's that?
What's that, Donnie?
I never watched True Blood, so that thing where they can't enter, I didn't know it until you guys were just talking about it. I had no
Yeah.
clue about that. I
really?
thought that was like specific to this movie. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just one of those vampire tropes. I don't think True Blood made it up either. I think it's one of many vampire tropes.
Crazy. Yeah.
Along with
There's
the
actually-
garlic and the stake to the heart. Go ahead, Alex.
As for the werewolf thing, it is Silver Bullet because I know
Silver
that
Bullet.
because of there's a movie called Silver Bullet, and I think that was a Stephen King film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's like I watched it in Canada when I was a kid.
I know it from Van Helsing.
Vampires and zombies and aliens and ghosts and demons always have a movie or two in the horror genre every other year or every year. You don't see too many werewolf movies. I feel like we haven't had a good werewolf movie in a while. There was that one in the 90s. What was it? American Werewolf in Paris, I think. I don't like
there
that
was
one.
two.
though.
There was American Werewolf in London. That was the original. And then
Damn.
American Werewolf in Paris was
That's right.
the sequel.
There's a new
Werewolves-
one.
These werewolves travel more than I do. There's a new one?
Yeah, it's called Wolfman.
Oh,
Because they.
Oh, yeah.
But
I
it's got the
remember
girl
that.
from. We just watched the movie with her in it. What's her name? What's her
Beckinsale.
name?
oh, you're thinking of Van Helsing, right?
No, Underworld. That's Underworld.
Oh, that's what's Van Helsing?
Let's see. What's another girl?
I'm getting all
Sharon
my
Stone? No.
Sharon. Yeah, Sharon Stone is no.
I forgot.
Charlize
Van Helsing's that
Theron.
one guy. I forgot
Julia
his name.
Gardner, who
Julia Gardner.
was just in
And weapons.
Weapons.
Yeah. Somebody on
Yeah.
this is also kind of an aside here, but that's what we do on this show. They had an idea for a movie where it's a black guy gets kidnapped by the Ku Klux Klan, but unbeknownst to them, he was bitten by a werewolf prior to him getting kidnapped. So he turns into a werewolf at night and just goes ham on the Klan. And that sounds like a badass movie. I would
Ham
totally
on the Klan.
I'm Ham on the Clan. That's what we'll call it too. If he writes that and gets it produced, I'll
Did you
be
say
there day
ham
one.
on the clam?
Yeah, the Clan.
On the clan.
Did I say clam with an M?
No, you said it with the.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
just
the
fixing
those
this.
technical difficulties.
It's just Arnold's dirty mind sometimes.
Dirty earbuds.
boy,
Dirty
naughty
earbuds.
boy.
Naughty.
Hey,
Go
I
ahead.
wanted to mention real quick because we did recently The Crow, and we were talking about that that whole accident that happened with the ammunition,
Right.
the fake so for this movie they used guns with new technology that actually had recoil, but didn't shoot any projectiles. I thought that was cool.
Oh wow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those Tommy guns look legit when he's going.
Yeah, I mean they had the
Man,
recoil and everything, but nothing comes out of it.
He was so
That's
buff.
pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, I thought that was
I
cool.
thought that you could just fire blanks, though. Wasn't that the same thing? Or I guess I don't know
Well,
how guns
it's
work.
not made to fire anything, I guess. It's just made to that
It's
little
just the
kickback action.
recoil, and then they
Yeah,
throw the.
yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, nothing's ever loaded in it at all. Like it doesn't shoot anything at all.
That's
Like a
crazy.
vasectomy.
Yeah, exactly like a vasectomy. Well, yeah. I mean, wow. That's a pretty good chunk of discussion right there, guys. But yeah. Yeah. What other thoughts do we have? I mean, I feel like there's so we could probably talk about this movie for a long time, but
I think
what
we
other
have to
thoughts
talk
do we have?
about
Go ahead, Chris.
I think we have to talk about the song portion in the where Sammy's singing and then the
Oh, yeah.
past and the future.
One of the best
love
scenes.
One of
I think.
like
I like the
That-
way
was
the
that the scene
camera.
Yeah.
It
Was that the
sort
scene
of
you were referring
goes.
to
yeah.
earlier, Alex, when you were
Yeah.
talking about the music?
Yeah, that was the scene.
I
It was
think
kind
that's
of,
like one of the best.
Yeah, I like how it like kind of the music kind of blended into each other, like the different styles. Like you saw like first it was like
Yeah.
Sammy doing this thing, and then you saw like that guy that was kind of representative of like the 70s, like
There's a lot of stuff
classic
they
rock.
inserted into that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like there's like the DJ doing the hip hop, and then you see like the break dancer.
Yeah.
And then, like, you even see, like, it was, like, kind of a nod to, like, even the past history of, like, Chinese Americans where they had, like, those, the dancers being represented. I thought that was really cool.
I thought they were just like trying to show that like it wasn't just black culture. Music brings everybody together type of deal.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Exactly.
100%. I thought that was cool.
even the Bloods and the Crips, they show them both.
Yeah. Yeah, the one that was like gambling.
Music's so
Yeah.
good. They're both at the party.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch? Go ahead. Sorry.
That's
sorry.
another. I was just gonna say that's another testament to like how music brings everybody together, right? Regardless
Yeah.
of what they believe, it's just like when they're there, you're just there to all together as one.
Did you guys watch the Kendrick Lamar halftime Super Bowl special?
Oh, yeah.
Earlier
I
this
saw
year.
that.
Yo,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you remember how like what's her name? Serena Williams there's a quick shot of her dancing
Sea
and
walking.
she's doing like the crip
Yeah.
dance or the. Did you guys see the Daft Reddit post about that where all these dudes on Reddit were like, why is she glorifying gang culture, man? Like, dude, it's not gang culture just because maybe it originates from that, but that's not what it represents. Like, are you guys really that out of depth or that out of touch with reality that you think that her dancing at the Super Bowl is glorifying the gang culture of the Bloods and the Crips or whatever? Like, that's
People
just
are
such a
stupid,
dumb.
dude.
That's
That's
such
just
a dumb
if you-
way of thinking. It shows how out of touch you are. Go ahead, Alex. Sorry.
If you think about it too, it's like why were there gangs? It was to protect their neighborhoods from like people
Right.
like racists.
Yeah.
But then it was because of the racists who like pitted like black people against people against each other. They were the ones that like were planting drugs in the neighborhoods. They were putting weapons in the hands of people like who didn't need them. They were just trying to protect, and then they just instigated stuff, and that's how you got those rivalries. It was all manufactured. The whole drug war was manufactured, the gang war was manufactured. So people who were saying like, "Oh, Crip Walk, you're glorifying," you're the one that like put it like gangs on the streets, not them. They were just protecting their neighborhoods. So, sorry.
Yeah.
No,
it's a good
I
point.
100% agree. And I'm glad you say that because it just, like I said, it just makes you realize how people just have no grasp of just basic history, especially when it comes to systemic racism. And like you said, like Nixon started planting drugs in the urban street, black neighborhoods and whatnot, and then continued by Reagan, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, even look at the mafia, the Italian mafia. They were seen as like lower than people, like just like the Irish,
Like the Irish,
and so
yeah.
so they manufactured that war between the Irish and the Italians as well. That whole
They talked about it in the movie.
yeah, it's all manufactured. The only real war is the class war.
I 100% agree. 100% agree. And by the way, the Irish are now considered white. The Italians are now considered white. And how do the rest of us get on that train so that we don't keep getting suppressed, right? How did they do it? I don't know. I don't know how the Italians did it, but they managed to pull it off. I would say good food, but Mexicans have good food too, so it's not bad.
Probably through wine.
Through wine.
Through wine.
Through ceviche, right, Arnold? But you got to have it on a Ninja Turtles plate.
Ninja Turtle bowl right here, Leonardo. Hey, isn't that Italian, Leonardo?
It is actually. Leonardo,
Your dish is
Michelangelo.
bringing everyone together.
Yeah. Everything goes back to racism, though, right? Like everything in this country goes back to racism. Directors like Ryan Coogler and Jordan Peele, since we're talking about him too a little bit, they know how to really work that thematically into their stories and stuff. And I think that's why we need diverse voices in film, especially in film, because variety is the spice of life, as they say. And I think it's movies like this and it's how we learn as a culture. I mean, if you're not reading a history book, which is fine, you can watch movies and listen to music and learn about stuff that way, I think so. What's Healing Laughter Power saying? Yeah. Adrian, you are what? Oh. Healing Laughter Power, I hate to break it to you. No, I'm just kidding. But you know what? You guys know what I'm getting at, right? I'm going on too much of a tangent. I apologize. Let's get back to one last question before we start to wrap her up. And I'll open this to the room, but I'll start with you, Chris. What do you think was the emotional high point of this movie?
Honestly, the high point. There's so many high points in it, so it really kind of depends on. Comes back down to the viewer as far as what you were potentially looking for out of this movie going into it. Were you looking for just a vampire movie? Were you interested because of all the culture aspects to this movie? For me personally, seeing Sammy in that singing scene was kind of pivotal for me to sort of see how all of their cultures came together. And like they say at the end, like that was their best day. Like that moment, if you can take that snapshot, that 2 minutes of that movie was just so powerful. And not only with how they filmed it and the music and all the nods to all the different cultural aspects, but bring it back to Sammy, who's in between this duality of like, do I lean into this life of sinning, right? Like you have like these 7 deadly sins literally happening under that roof in that moment, but you see him kind of like just go into the deep end and like he loses himself in that moment. I thought that was so powerful. Outside of it being a vampire movie, that was just like took the cake for me. I know it can take people out of the movie if you were looking for a vampire movie. Like, what am I watching right now? Because it gets very woo woo and spiritual and whatnot. But I just think at the core of it, that moment was so beautiful for Sammy to have that. That was really cool.
That's a great pick. I love it. Yeah, Donnie, what do you think? What was the big emotional high point for you?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Chris. I remember sitting in the theater when that scene came on. I just like felt a certain way. Like it really resonated with me, and I thought also that it was shot amazingly. And I would just have to agree. There's nothing more I can say about it. Like it was so good. My favorite scene of the movie was that scene. So it was amazing.
Thanks. Arnold, what did it for you? What was the big emotional peak?
I was trying to think of something different just for the sake of being different. But I think I would have to agree with that as well, because at that point, okay, I was watching it kind of slouched, and then I was getting a little tired, and then but then when that came on, I was like, oh man, this is dope, this is cool. Like it really was so cool. But so I would have to agree there. But if you were to ask something a little bit different, like what was instead of the emotional high point, what do you think was the most what would you think was the most erotic point for you, Adrian? How about you?
The most erotic point for me would have been
Yes.
when he goes to visit I forget her name, in her cabin or whatever, and they're talking and they're talking and they're talking, and then he like says something or she says something, and they just start going at it. I'm like,
She
okay.
licks his ear.
Annie and Smoke.
Annie.
Yeah.
Annie, yeah.
Annie and Smoke gave her that smoke, yeah.
Oh, not
Yeah.
What was the girl's name that Sammy
Haley Steinfeld.
Oh,
that he
Pearline?
took
no.
that he
No,
took a
you're
liking
talking about the
to?
other girl.
The one that
Yeah, the other
Kate-
girl.
I don't know her name. I
Pearline?
forgot her name.
but
I know who
she's
you're
sang
talking
later.
about, though.
Yeah.
He was trying to hit her up. He was trying to hit her up throughout the middle part of the movie, wasn't he? And then
Yeah,
she becomes
well,
she
she
died.
diving in later.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait,
I just love
think
that Stack gave Sammy like the tips in the while they're driving, like, and then right
Oh,
above,
Yeah.
Oh,
they get an
yes.
ice cream.
I
And
completely
not too
forgot about
hard
that.
and not too soft.
I love that scene. That was so funny.
Oh yeah, and then she was like,
All right.
"Oh, come on, I done walked over here. Let me clean up first." And he was like, "I just want to taste it." Like,
Like that ice cream, like
Damn,
you want it to
man.
last, is what Healing After Power said. Yeah.
Jeez.
That's what he tells him.
Alex, how about you? What's your high point?
The high point for me
Emotional high
it was
point. Yeah.
emotional high
Erotic.
point. I think it was. I think it would have to be. I mean, there was definitely like what Chris said. There was a lot of it, and what you're looking for is what you'll get. But for me, I think one of my favorite high points was at the very end when you see, is it Smoke?
Yeah, it's
after
Smoke.
he like, or I think it's before the Klansmen come into the farm,
Like in between the
farmhouse.
vampires and the Klansmen, there's that moment.
Yeah, and he's like showing how like he in his memory or his imagination. I'm not really sure what it is, but he's like what he's envisioning is like this farmhouse where like everybody's working together, they're all living in like harmony and kind of the thing. But what happens is the Klansmen like I think what would have happened either way if he bought the house for like instead of doing a juke joint, it would have been like a farmhouse or whatever. The Klansmen would have come there anyways and tried to kill everybody. And I think that's what was the goal, was to like have all these people there, and then they would just wipe out a bunch of black people in that farmhouse. But they go in there and there's like nobody there, and Smoke is hiding in the bushes because he'd been in the military. He knew how to like fight. And he ambushed all those Klansmen and took him out. But I think that was like the cool emotional high point because it was him like seeing this sort of like what could have been or what should have been or thing, and that was like a beautiful moment for it all. And then it obviously leads into him meeting up with Annie again on the other side. That was kind of a really great emotional high point for me.
Cool, man.
That was gonna be
Badass
mine too.
and sensitive.
I love that
Hey,
scene.
Yeah. You mentioned how he was in the services, right? I think it's cool, like how, again, the attention to detail with the character development. Like you could see him trembling throughout the whole movie. Like he can't even roll his own cigarettes. And when his brother's not around, he's smoking out of a pipe, right? Yeah, it's just so good. It's like super good.
Yeah.
I wish I had just 1 ounce of cool that Michael B. Jordan has, 1 ounce of cool. And I would be, I'd be killing it, man. But
Like those
swagger
cool
you'd
cigarettes.
the swagger, yes, thank you. Yeah, but
Dude, he's been in like every Ryan Coogler movie.
yeah,
They work together in every movie.
like De Niro
And
and
they should
Scorsese.
keep doing it.
They keep
Dude. Killer combo.
gotta
doing
keep
it.
seeing more from them
And doing it well.
and doing it well.
Doing
Yeah,
it, and doing
my buddy
it,
Brian's in the
doing it,
chat
doing it.
says Adrian is a purveyor of hate speech. Yes, I am. What can I say? But hey, I get comments of love all the time too. So it kind of cancels itself out. Anyway, but yeah, guys, that's Sinners. I mean, do we have any more things we want to talk about, or we want to go into final thoughts? How we feeling?
I do want to mention the the whole camera thing. Like, I mean, he obviously plays two different roles. We didn't touch on that at all. I was like, right? I was researching that and like how it was shot because I thought they were like he was shooting it and then he would go back again and shoot it again. But there was a lot of like prep that went into it. Like he wears this one thing that goes on you, and it's like cameras all around, and so they can impose his face onto the body double in certain scenes, like later on. Yeah, it's just crazy, and like how they have to pay very close attention to when they cut the film and reshoot it because. Yeah, you have to look exactly like he's passing the cigarette off to himself, for example, right? Like you have the person has to really make sure. Okay, was the cigarette the same length and just all that detail? Like it's just crazy how they did it.
They had to use everything from like sound cues to make sure like people are handing off props.
Yeah,
and, like the level of detail like is so insane. I don't know how they do it so seamlessly, but
yeah, that's a lot of work. I think they said 17 times for each scene.
Wow.
Sheesh.
Oh, I want to know is, does Michael B. Jordan get paid double for doing double the work? Because he is playing two different characters. Yeah. Or does studios save money that way by,
I think he's gonna I think he's gonna get an award for this for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Because Armie Hammer did something similar on The Social Network. He plays the Winklevoss twins. And I don't know how they impose his face in that movie compared to this movie, but it's still two different performances. You know what I mean? Two different.
I'm sure in the contracts they get like compensated some way.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure he's compensated pretty well for this one. It did pretty successful movie.
Yeah. I know voice actors, they'll have like a pay scale, like sort of what you're talking to, of like the more roles that they play as voice actors, they fall into like tiers of pay. Like once you go over like 3 voices, then you like go up to a certain threshold. But I think when you have a AAA famous star, it's just, hey, we're gonna throw the bag at you, and
it is crazy. It's crazy because he had to wear 2 different like they did his makeup differently for each character. He had 2 different walks. Like they had 2, it's like two completely different traits, and that he had to accomplish throughout the filming. So I thought that is crazy.
The physicality of like everything from like just hand movements, right? Like one's very sure of themselves, and like you said, one's very shaky and kind of like. Stack is the more passionate, Smoke's more like the calm, cool, collected guy. So
back to that duality, right? Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine Eddie Murphy in the Nutty Professor movies where he's playing like 6 different characters, and they're all in the same room interacting with each other. And the way they did it back then, they had a camera on a tracking mount that just did the same exact camera movement each time, but then he just plays. So that's like I don't know how many takes for all the different characters on those movies, but
a dynamic camera. That's what they use here. Yeah.
Oh, they use like a they program the camera to do these. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because the other way is to have a camera just staying in the same spot and then reshooting it over and over again, which they didn't do. Yeah,
that would probably be more impractical and take way longer to do.
Yeah,
that's the thing about movies is it's a monotonous process. Like it's when you're making a movie, it's boring. Because it's a lot of repetitive work and hurry up and wait, but the amount of artistry that goes into any and all movies is fantastic. Oh yeah,
and you need the budget to do it too.
Exactly. What? Any other thoughts? Before we start to wrap her up, Alex, do you have any other thoughts that you wanted to touch on?
No, not really.
All right. Well, cool. I think we've done it, guys. I think it's time to do final thoughts. And I think I'll start with Chris. Let's start with you. What are your final thoughts on Sinners, and where can people find you?
I think that this movie is got so many layers, like lasagna, that you can watch it so many different times, focusing on different aspects. If you're a nerd like myself or Donnie, when you're like looking at like camera aspects, this movie is like the creme de la creme of like a well shot movie. If you just like music in general, you're gonna find like this movie is just saturated with culture in like such a beautiful way. with tons of nods to every, again, just all these different aspects of music. If you like good acting, I mean, you see Michael B. Jordan knock it out of the park, and like the supporting cast, like Sammy's killer. It's his first role, like major role. So I gave it a 5 out of 5. Like for a movie like this, that like you said, Adrian, like this movie is hyped a lot, but I think it's well earned. So yeah, 5 out of 5, and you can find me at Milkman America everywhere, under your bed, in your closet.
There's no escaping Milkman America in today's world, right, Chris?
Yes.
Thank you for that, Chris. Donnie, final thoughts.
Yeah. Oh my God. I loved everything about this movie. I don't think I've rated a movie 5 out of 5 yet, but this one for me is definitely a 5 out of 5. Highly recommend it. I think it's an accurate period piece for the first half, and then it transitions to a horror film, and each on its own does amazing. Creative choices by Ryan Coogler, one of my new favorite directors. I mean, he only has a handful of movies, but I'm excited to see what he comes out with next. Just his creative choices throughout the filmmaking process was, and the attention to detail was super good. The makeup in this film was amazing. I wanna point that out as well. Even down to the eyes. You know how their eyes are glowing. It's not a camera trick. Like they utilize contacts that were like reflective, like animal eyes, for him to get that effect. So I mean, just to detail that, Mike Fontaine was the makeup artist for the special effects makeup, and he did phenomenal. I'm wondering what other movies he worked on, but I had to look it up just because it looks so real to me. And overall, great movie. You can find me on underscore everywhere, everywhere underscore Donnie Appleseed, mainly on Facebook and Instagram. But yeah, that's it for me.
You're really bringing in with all the technical details. I love it. Thank you so much for.
Yeah,
I
of
had
course.
no idea about most of the stuff you talked about tonight, so it's great to learn that. So, no, that's awesome. So thank you, Donnie, for that. I appreciate it as always. Alex, final thoughts, and where can people find you?
I really love this movie. It was really well made. I love a lot of the camera work, the shots, the long, what do you call it, the Steadicam shots where they're following the characters around from like the shop to shop. I thought that was really cool. The scenes where they were driving in the cotton fields, those look stunning. You know, like the way that they were. It just made that. It almost kind of highlighted that period of time. Like I something that I wanted to bring up during the Crow thing, like one of the things that James R. O'Barr did in the comic book was, thematically it was a dark comic book, but it was also a dark. Thematically it was a dark movie, but it was also a dark comic book. But the darkness highlighted, like, gave you awareness of the light, you know. And so in the Crow, there was like these massive panels where it'd be like light, and then like just a tiny bit of darkness, and then the same thing would happen. Like you'd see like Eric Draven like cowering in like a corner, and there's just like the background is black. Same thing with like this film. You see like those shots of them driving through the cotton fields. It was just bright white. Like it was like this kind of beautiful, like blue tinted white that they were driving past. So these fields of like beautiful cotton. And it kind of highlighted like the light, but then it kind of almost foreshadowed darkness, the oncoming darkness. The same thing with like the symbolism too, like where the foreshadowing of like bad things to come when like they're pulling open the back of that truck with a tarp, and then there's a rattlesnake there, right? And then Sammy is surprised by it, and it kind of foreshadows like what's going on. Like they're all taken by surprise with this whole like attack by like vampires. And if you think about it, like there's like heavy association with serpents and vampires and the devil and all that sort of stuff. So like it kind of foreshadows of like what's to come. And then also kind of like, you know, I think it's smoke that kills the snake, right? And
I don't remember.
I can't remember.
I don't remember.
One of them has the knife, but then he hands it to passes it to the other one, and he kills the snake. and I think it's like it's kind of foreshadowing who kills, like, like the devil, whoever it is. It's like the vampire, the lead vampire, or it's the Klansman. That's that's kind of like there's a lot of foreshadowing in this film, and yeah, I felt like the history that was put into it, and the like kind of the symbolism between like when it came to like the history of slavery and everything. I thought that was just like one done really, really well, and like just kind of a reminder of like not to forget what we went through, and the trials and tribulations that like Black people had to go through. And this is never gonna, like, if you think about it, vampires forever, we have to be on watch, right? Be awake, I don't want, there's a I almost said it, but there's that whole like,
Are you saying that the amount of vampire movies that come out might be some sort of recession indicator, or what? No, I'm
possibly. I mean, I would say the amount of Labubus that are on her.
No.
Agree.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something really quick. If you're under the age of 30, you will remember that the early 90s, there was a bit of a recession. Who was president during that time? George H.W. Bush. When I graduated college, there was a recession. Who was president during that time? George W. Bush. And right now, we're in a bit of a recession. Who's president right now? Let's not say his name. But you know what I'm talking
Daddy.
about.
George F. Bush.
Voldemort.
Edit point for sure.
Edit point. No, that one's going all over social media. I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, Alex. I didn't mean to sidetrack you. Go ahead.
But anyways, for me, it's a 4.5 out of 5. And you can find me at Daily Dares and all the socials.
Hey, real quick, Alex mentioned the long track shots. Like he did that in another movie too, like in Creed, right? That scene where he's walking to the ring. It must be like a signature thing for him. But like you're starting to pick up on it, right? It's like he likes to do those long
He's so
shots.
good at it.
Long track. Yeah. Anyways,
I'm a sucker for a good long tracking shot.
Yeah.
1917 did that. So Arnold,
Yes.
last but not least, my favorite part of the show. When you're not here, I'm sad, but now you're here tonight. So my favorite part of the show. First, give us your review, and then we'll go into your sleeper meter score. Go ahead.
We talked a lot about a lot of naughty stuff. I want to mention the verse that the preacher daddy made him recite. It was 1 Corinthians 10 and 13. I think, God is faithful and will not allow you to face a temptation so severe that you cannot endure it. So I think kind of different words, but I mean, in my own life, you might, in previous podcasts, previous shows, you heard of our upbringing, but that personally is also one of my favorite verses because, when times when you feel like down or like you feel like it's too much, God won't give you more than you can bear. But that was just one little part to kind of holy it up a little bit, But I really did enjoy the movie. I went into it. I didn't know it was about vampires. Very, very entertaining. I loved it a lot. I'd watch it again. And my wife, she when I told her I was going to be watching that, she was like, "Oh, scary movie? No, never mind." But then she kind of like started watching. She's like, "Oh, that wasn't really scary at all." And so, so if people out there who don't like horror movies, it's a vampire movie, but really not scary. It's just really good action.
Sometimes the real horror is up here in your brain.
Sometimes the real horror. Never mind. But I would say I give this a good 4.20. If I could do that on Letterboxd. But I'd give it a 4.5.
Literally smoking.
No, smoke, because of smoke and stack. That's what he was talking about.
Yeah.
The two really cool names, the twins, Smoke and Stack.
We need
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Yeah, I really enjoy this. I don't know what else to say.
Well, I think you know what to say next, Arnold. Let's get the Arnold snooze-o-meter. Dun, 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 dun. All right, go ahead. I did the wedding theme there. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
dun,
we're gonna get
dun.
married, bruh.
What?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. No, but Arnold, the snooze-o-meter score. Tell us.
Oh, I think I mentioned a little bit, and that where I was watching it last night. I started to get a little too relaxed, but then the part that got me up and like hyped up was the erotic high point. I mean, emotional high point for me, which was like the music part. You know, with bringing all the different you know, from you know, blues to DJs to breakdancing and all that. I thought that was just so cool, and that got me up, and so I did not need to partake of any of this. You know, if you're ever feeling tired, Four Sigmatic,
Focus.
which they've also got it's a Four Sigmatic organic with lion's mane and chaga mushrooms. We've got
What the Sigma?
What the Sigma?
This here is a box
Ohio.
of instant coffee, and shout out to them for hooking it up. We got here at the you know, they have
Are you
also got
sponsored? Do you have a sponsorship? I don't know
freshly
about.
ground coffee.
I like how it says
And,
focus. It's blurry.
Oh, it was a little blurred up there.
It's okay. It's okay.
But they're
We're not
both
getting paid, so.
they're both
Yeah.
with lion's mane. You know, helps with the focus, and with the coffee, caffeine, it just gives you that boost. I didn't need any of that for this movie, so but
Awesome.
I'm gonna drink this in the morning to start my day.
How many grams of caffeine is it? Like 670 grams of caffeine?
6, 7.
Let's see. Oh,
Yeah.
69 grams.
69
Oh,
grams.
Look
Perfect.
at that. Look
Yeah.
at that.
My favorite number.
Yeah.
Hey, real
Hey,
quick,
but Haley
Arnold mentioned,
Steinfeld. Total
Oh.
babe, right, Arnold?
dude,
Haley Steinfeld.
Haley Steinfeld.
The girl. The only white girl in the movie.
Well, she is an eighth black, which I thought was a
Yeah.
really cool aspect.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Is she really
Again,
in real life?
details of casting, like that's amazing, right?
I know, so good.
Arnold, what was your? Did you give an actual number for your
Oh,
sleep
for
meter score?
Z's. 0 Z's.
Oh,
0
okay.
Z's, yeah.
Perfect.
So yeah, very good.
Nice. Where can people find
Real
you?
quick,
Yeah.
Arnold, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh,
Finish
No,
up.
go ahead. Go ahead,
Oh,
Arnold.
were
No.
you gonna ask me where to find me, Donald?
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
find me
Where
at
do we
Arnie
find you?
Collego everywhere.
No, I was just gonna say Arnold mentioned something that I forgot to talk about, or that kind of triggered me.
Please.
Where he was reading the sermon with the temptation, about temptation, right? Like, it's like a reoccurring theme in a movie, like cultural perspective, like utilizing the name of God to manipulate your headspace. Like, the priest is talking about how blues is the devil's music, but I think what he's really trying to say is like, it's not the music itself, but it's like where it's played and what's associated with the music, right? Because in church they sing as well. Like, I don't know, I just found it really interesting. I think it's just like his perspective on it, and it really, he's just trying to tell him like, don't do that type of music, do this type of music. But really, he had nothing against blues. It's just like what was associated with it, right?
More about
Yeah.
the
Did
scene.
you guys get that? Yeah, like I don't know. That's how I feel.
It made me think of something that I was thinking about like earlier in the day. Because a lot of times to me, music is like, it can be very even spiritual. I mean, you sing at church, you sing at in the car, you sing during making love, in the shower or whatever, and then it could just open you up to whatever moods, whatever vibes.
Arnold,
it can
when you
open
make
you
a
up to
big
things.
move, what music do you put on?
Yeah.
When I what?
When you make the big move, what music do you put on?
When I make the big move.
Big
When
move.
you make the big move with the
Arnold, the
wife,
big
what music
move.
do you put on?
Pretend you're smoking your stack and you're teaching us.
Yeah.
We are Sammy. Teach us your ways.
It really depends on the vibe.
Okay.
So if I'm feeling, very very R&B type, very romantic, maybe a little bit of Boys to Men or something.
Oh.
If I'm feeling a little classy, maybe a little bit of an Andrea Bocelli, but also to make them laugh, because I'll do the opera voice
For the big O.
if I'm wanting to be a little bit more like romantic, but more like protective. Maybe he'll be a little bit of like 50 Cent or something. Get Rich or Die Trying with the Bulletproof Vest. So yeah, kind of depends.
Okay. I thought you were going to say maybe MC Hammer or something like that, but
Oh,
but all those work too.
Dropping the hammer.
or if there's some tequila involved, maybe a little bit of like I don't know, like
Usher?
Grupo Climax or Bad Bunny or something.
Spicy.
Grupo Climax.
You
I
know,
like that.
you know,
That's-
oh, ya tu sa. Me se kamasa aplauda si, me se kamasa aplauda no, me se kamasa aplauda le man
All right, we're going to get copyright strikes, so stop.
Okay.
Yeah. Adrian,
You know
how about
the-
you?
BOOTZ too big.
All right. No, well, thank you for that, Arnold. I appreciate that. And yeah, I'll just read my Letterboxd review, as well as the same script I used for our quickie review, which we'll have to reshare. But essentially, I said, I had some mixed feelings, but it's a solid movie. Set in the Jim Crow South, this period drama has great vibes. It's very well done. The music was fire. There's this one magical scene showing how black music evolved through time, and it totally stole the show. Michael B. Jordan plays twin brothers, and of course, he brings the effortless cool. The whole vampire metaphor, soul suckers of black culture, was super smart, and making the main vampires Irish was a really interesting touch, considering their own history of discrimination. I do wish that we had gotten more time with the twins as characters, and the story takes a little time to really kick in. It's a bit long and has like one too many endings, but even with that, Sinners swings big, and I respect that. Overall, stylish, thought-provoking, and worth checking out. So this gets a strong 3.5 stars out of 5 on Letterboxd. And you can find me on Letterboxd at Boots Too Big. I've been trying to grow my account on there. We should all be trying to grow our account. There's so many people who love Letterboxd. There's a huge community on it. You can follow the show, Never Seen a Podcast, on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Blue Sky, X. Visit our website at neverseenitpodcast.com. Email us, podcast.neverseenit@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Did you watch Sinners? What was your thoughts? What was your favorite moments from the film? Subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts from. If you like the show, share it, leave us a review. Big thanks to Mr. Kyle Maps and a Burn Cycle for our intro and outro music. Follow Kyle, selfies_food_and_pets. And that's the Sinners episode for the Never Seen Podcast, isn't there? Thank you guys for listening. Thank you all to the group chat and the live chat. Anything else? Any final thoughts from the gentleman?
Listen to more Buddy Guy.
Yes.
Yes.